All right, welcome back, everyone. So we are doing week 2, day 4 algorithms. All right, so if you're here in this lecture, you have passed your test, so congratulations to you all. Fantastic job. Very proud of you. Let's encourage the rest of our cohort mates on their tests. Well, we can't encourage them. Leave them alone. So um, let's see this page, week 2, day 4. What we're going to encounter now is nested arrays. All right, we talked about array values having strings, numbers, Boolean values. We've even had arrays that hold objects. That's what we dealt with the day before yesterday, right? So arrays that held objects. Today we're going to be looking at arrays that hold arrays. All right, so this array here, R2D, is a 2D array. All right, and as you can tell here, let me just zoom in a little bit. This array has 3 arrays in it. Each array within the array is still treated as a normal index. And the index value is the array itself. So for example, this array that we're looking at here, 258, this is index value 0. 361, this is index value 1. And this one then would be 2, right? So then we can look at this as a system of rows and columns, right? So when I read the index values, the initial index values, I was reading from I was reading from up to down, but the whole row, left to right, can be treated as an index value. All right, so we have our rows, and then once we go into our row, right, if we say R2D at index 0, what do we get? We get this whole entire array. But what if we want an index value inside this array? All right, so then we have to name the index value where the inner array is. So that's index value 0. Okay, so that's what we're seeing here, index value 0. And then we want the specific index value inside this one. So if we wanted the third one here, this number 8, what we would do is say array 2D at 0. So that's this row. And then we want the number 8. So we're going to say at 0, right? Because this is 0, this is 1, and so this one is 2. All right, so then we say R2D at 0 at 2, and that's going to return that 8 right there, okay? So R2D at 0 at 2, that's going to return the 8. Let me clear my drawings. So then how would we get this 6? Someone tell me how to write this. How do I get the value of the 6 within this nested array?
Maybe R2D 1 at 1.
R2D, so we write the name of the array. And then what did you say? At 1, because that is what the row value, right?
Yeah,
So that is 1. And then the next one you said was what number?
1.
1. And that is because of what reason, Anthony?
Because in the second array it goes 0, 1, 2. So the
Yep,
at 1 is 6.
exactly. So we have index values still being starting from 0 in the inner array. So 0, 1, 2. So this is at the 1 column. So we say 1, 1. And that's how we get the center value of a 3x3 2D array. That's how we get the 6. Okay. So this is what we're going to be working with today. I want to ask you guys Do I not have my poll setting? Oh yeah, I do have it. Okay. Are you guys understanding that a 2D array works this way? You have to call the outer value and then the inner value. Okay, so when we look at this R2D, all the index values, the initial index values are still the same, but we have arrays within. So in order to get into the inner array, we have to call the second index value. Okay, so it looks like we're all getting this pretty nicely. So how could we read through an array? How could we read through this array and determine if a value was present? Determine if a certain value was present. Okay, so step one, when you guys go into your breakout groups today, is to write a function called isPresent2D. And then this function is going to receive a 2D array, R2D, and then also receive a value. And then that function is going to return true if, right, here's the key, if the value is present in the array. Okay, so you're taking that value and you're going to read through this 2D array. So you're going to have to read through each individual value within the arrays to determine if that value is present. Okay. Also, we cannot assume that the array will always be the same size. So we must rely on its dot length. Okay. That means that any 2D array that we're given in this function, we're not going to assume always that's going to be a 3x3 or that it's an even 4x4 or even at all. Okay. It could be an array of like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So this is the, it could be jagged, right? It could be 1, 2. Okay. And then the next line could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we don't know how this nested array of arrays looks like. It could be kind of awkward and jagged like this. Doesn't matter because dot length will help us find the length. We don't have to count it ourselves. Okay, so this is step one in our breakout groups today. Create a function that will return true if the value is present. Okay, so we're going to check for that value that we're given. And then given that 2D array, we're going to see if that value is in the array. Okay, so that's the first one. Now the second one is to flatten a 2D array. So we're going to give you that initial code to start with. All right, then we have a variable flat. So we're going to read through this 2D array. And we want to return an array that takes that 2D array and then flattens it into a one-dimensional array. So just seeing here, we have the first array being 2, 5, 8, then the second one 3, 6, 1, then 5, 7, 7. We want this all in one single array. So we want to find a way to be able to read a 2D array and then flatten it. Okay, we can use the push and or pop where we feel like we need it. Okay, does anyone have any questions about today's algorithm? What we're supposed to do, not how we're supposed to do it, but what we're supposed to do. We'll figure out the how in our breakout groups. Okay, all right, it's looking great then. Let's go ahead and pause the recording. All right, we're back. Let's present our solutions. So who'd like to present for the first one? This is to check if a value is an array, and a 2D array. So who'd like to present first? I know at least one group got it.
All right, I got it.
Okay.
Wait.
Richard, I'll have you guys present the last one.
Oh, okay. Just kidding.
Yep. No, I know you guys got the last one. Vivian, I want to have you guys.
Okay, let me just share my screen. Okay, I'm going to just comment out this bottom part. Oh. No, lost. Okay. So this was the function we created right here.
Mm-hmm.
We have the array and the value. So in the first loop, we are going through each of the arrays. So we're going vertically down. And then we did the second for loop to go through each of the numbers within the array. And we use a different variable for that. And then, so we entered a value down here. And if array index I index j is equal to that value that we entered here, then we would get return true. And if not, then we would get not in the array.
Nice. Okay, so let's see this play out. Right now we're looking for a 9. And is a 9 in the array?
It's not in the array, so we get not in the array.
Okay, let's check a number that is in the array. Can we see the array?
Yes. So we can do 2 or
Okay.
6.
Yeah, two's in there.
And then we get true.
Nice.
I think, isn't it returning not in the array too early though? Because it looks like it's only checking the first array.
We can try a different one.
So the way to check if it's not in the array, well, right now, if we enter a value 9, right? We know it's going to parse through the whole entire thing.
Right, but I think it's only checking the 2, 5, 8. So if we put 6 in there, so Eric and I ran into an issue where we returned there you go. So we returned false too early. We were just checking that first array. So we had to return or move our return false down further.
Oh, I see.
I think that's what was happening to Kai and I too when we put 7 in it, and we know that like 7 it was all the way down at the end.
Okay, can we put in 7? So we put in 6.
So
Oh, yeah.
But we know it's in the array. It's at the very end though.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's because the else is returning.
where we don't need an else statement, we just need a return false in the other for loop, the non-nested.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
outside of it.
So so basically this is returning if I at j is not in it after reading the second for loop. So it's just checking the first index of the inner array, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So then we need this to be, we need this else to trigger, not after this if returns false, because this if is going to return only after it reads through that first index value, checking j in that first I value. So we need this return to happen after the for loop, the first for loop is finished. So we need to find the closing bracket for the first for loop and then stick it right below that one. And so let's stick it below that pink ending curly bracket, that return.
There you go.
Before the pink, right?
I have it after personally.
Let's test, we can test both. I mean, it's just a matter of testing.
True.
Here. Okay, is 7 in the array?
It is.
It is. So then let's stick it one out side, one more. Okay.
There you
Okay.
go. Yeah.
There it is. All right. So the true should trigger. This should return only after. Yes, that makes more sense. After we finished our outer for loop. That means we finish our for loop, our outer and our inner for loop. If we finish those and we do not have this return true, then we should return not in the array. So this is correct. Nicely done. Good catch, Richard. Okay, so now, Richard, if you would present your solution for the next question.
Okay. Eric, so I typed up the first one, he typed up the second one. You can share your screen. There you go, buddy. Let's see. Let me pull up. All right, so this was flattening an array. And we knew we had to do something very similar to the first problem with the nested for loops.
Okay.
And instead of returning true or false, we knew we had to just, add the number to a new array. I'm pretty sure they give you, they gave you the var flat as the new array. So just in the nested for loop, we just said, hey, whatever number you have, push it to the end of that other array. And then just like the previous problem, we just cycled through all the numbers.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay, so this one actually looks a little bit easier, right?
Yeah,
And
once you get the first one, this one's pretty simple.
so this one here, we just go through the for loop and the inner for loop and the inner one, we are just pushing I at j each time. So instead of console logging I at j, we're just pushing. Every time we read through, we push to here. And then once we finish with our function, so right before we finish, we just return flat.
Yeah. And Eric, is there any chance you want to put console log flat after we push it? And then in the output, you should see where it grows like one by one each time. That makes sense. No. At the return dot push.
Right here, right there.
Yeah. So if you put it flat there and then run it again, it should. There you go. Yeah, build one by one.
So you see the array growing each time we push to it.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Great job, guys. So today, what we have learned with 2D arrays, we're gonna actually build a Minesweeper app tomorrow using 2D arrays. Okay, so there's lots to learn with these 2D arrays. It's a lot of fun to work with them. It's kind of hard at first, but once you get the hang of it, it starts to become fun. So tomorrow's actually my favorite algo day. It's the most difficult, but once we get it, it's really cool what we learned. You'll find that. So guys, let's go ahead and close out this algo session. I'm going to stop the recording. Does anyone have any questions though before I do that? Nope. Okay, looking good then. All right, we'll stop the